and
Yes.
it scared you,
It
moved you.
terrified me. Let's just cut for a second. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you really want me to get into this, or do you just want to talk
I
about it? I've
love
never
this.
really talked about it,
This
but
is American Werewolf, if that is your real name. You do review movies on your YouTube channel and podcast, but we know that you are a devout Catholic who was recently baptized. Let's see how you hold up under questioning when we inquire about the state of your soul.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Thank you for coming on the podcast tonight.
of
And
course.
so let's start off with the name American Werewolf. That doesn't sound like a Christian name. What's going on there?
Well, I run, first of all, thank you for having me on once again. It's good to see you. I run a YouTube channel that does movie reviews. And initially, it
Mhm.
started out as a horror review channel.
Mhm.
I don't want to have a prudish kind of faith. I'm not one of those people that wants to, despise the world and, that kind of thing.
So horror movies. So you like horror movies? You've always liked horror movies?
Oh yeah, growing up with my mother, watching the old
Mhm.
Universal classics like Lugosi and Karloff and Cheney, and then moving on to the Hammers with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. Reading a
Mhm.
lot of Stephen King growing up.
All right. So you're into smut, these smutty demonic movies. Okay. So when did you see the light? Take us back. Recently, you decided to become a baptized Catholic. How many years ago was that?
We're coming up on 3 years since my baptism during Holy Saturday.
So take us back. Take us back to your decision. You obviously aren't a cradle Catholic. You weren't baptized, but something in your life, you decided to look into the possibility of getting baptized. What happened there?
I've always had a complete belief in God, even though I haven't been a church-going man. I've had experiences that I've never discussed with you or with many people ever, that you could describe as appearances in dreams or visions,
All right, let's
so to
stop right
speak.
there. I want to go back to this this belief in God. Where did that come from?
Came from my family, my
Hmm.
parents,
Were they
all
church
God
going
fearing.
folk?
They were not church-going folk, but
But
they
they
were
believed in
trans.
God.
Yeah, my mother grew up in the church, but in a different part of the country.
Hmm.
Married my father. They met in 1958 and stayed married for 58 years
God bless them.
until she passed. So she grew up in the church, but transplanting to New Jersey, never found a church that was quite,
What kind of church was she? What kind of denomination was she raised in?
Holiness Church, so black
Holiness Church.
churches. My father was not a church-going person, but had a firm belief in God, in Christ. Often encouraged me to pray growing up.
So you were born into a house of prayer, a
Yes.
house of the word. And even though you weren't going to church, even though that you weren't perhaps talking about God outside of your home, you began to pick up on certain sensations and spiritual experiences. How old were you when you became aware of a spiritual experience?
Probably late. I didn't grow up on a traditionally healthy track. I actually fell into a lot of bad habits very early on in my teen years, from alcohol early on, early teen, to substances, which led to a lot of difficulties, as you know, some of them.
How did your parents deal with that? When did they become aware that their son was having problems with alcohol and drugs?
Probably in my late teens, early 20s, as I got out of high school, made
Mhm,
some attempts to go to college. I wasn't prepared for that. I
mhm.
wasn't emotionally mature enough for that. Yeah, there were frustrations. There were encounters with the law early on for silly things, misdemeanors, some DUIs. At that point, when things had really bottomed out, long story short, I was desperate to find some sort of firm ground. So I did enter 12-step programs and trying to cling on to anything to bring myself out of the hole that I had dug for myself.
How did those people treat you as a young man arriving in those rooms?
They were great. There's no judgment in those. In fact, if you're out there and you're struggling, try to get yourself to. I would advise it. I think 12-step meetings have put together far more people than anything else out there.
I was always interested in just how successful the 12-step program has been based on the Oxford movement and these very, very Christian format. And it's been said that, the 12 steps, that work of the 12 steps is really from God.
I wouldn't argue against it. That those 12 steps were divinely inspired, and that the words and things like the Big Book and the 12 steps and the 12 traditions are divinely inspired. A lot of lies, and contortions, and people just come there all twisted out of shape, and their souls are damaged, and who knows what sort of harm they've done to themselves and to others.
So you're a young man. They took away your car. You're having good experiences in these rooms, meeting a mentor, a sponsor. You're getting yourself together at this point initially in your 20s. What happens?
This was late 20s, early 30s. I mean, the direction
20s,
I had
30s.
gone in terms of going in the wrong direction had gone on upwards of 15 years. So that isn't something that you could just put together in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of damage. But what I discovered was that, in a short period of time, staying away and, changing my people, places, and things, as they say, you begin to mature really quickly.
So now you're sober in your 30s and you're putting things together. Now, 12-step spirituality is really based on evangelical and Augustinian spirituality, which is actually very close to the gift of the divine will. And one of the big things is that divine power dwelling within you, doing for you what you cannot do for yourself. This invitation for divinity to dwell in you and save you from the slavery of sin. Save you from these compulsions, to allow you to break addictions. Only God's power and not human power. And this sort of emphasis on the divine indwelling, we really find as a big part of Christianity and a big part of the gift of divine will that I'm involved with. They also encourage you to have this daily prayer life. When did that kind of click for you? In your 30s, or did that happen a little bit later?
Not until sometime later.
Mm-hmm.
Not until it wasn't a direct line. There's nothing I've done that just runs in a completely linear fashion. And as
that completely makes sense. That completely makes sense. You needed a lot of spiritual support, and praise God that you got that. And it takes a while for the spiritual life to develop. So sooner or later, you began to rely more on prayer.
Where I was, and we've talked about this off camera, and just in life. Where I was, most people don't get the opportunities that I was offered.
Mm-hmm.
You either end up in, some sort of institution, or you end up in, in jail, or, you end up dead. And it's funny because a couple of years ago, I ran into an old friend of mine we were once very close. And I ran down the list. How's so-and-so? Oh, well, on dialysis. How's this other one? Opioid addiction. How's this other one? Suicide attempt. Attempted to kill himself inside of his father's home. It was just this, this steady decline that, I missed out on. As far down as I went, there were people that were still moving in that direction after almost 20 years.
So, like you mentioned, many people with your past do not reach the age that you have reached.
Yeah.
Why do you think God has allowed you to stay alive?
I have a purpose. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I've had experiences when I was at my absolute bottom, where I felt that God kicked down the door and showed me things where, this is the state of your spiritual condition. And it wasn't good. What I saw was not good. As bad as I went, far down as I went, I wouldn't want to have that kind of experience again, where I feel that I was very specifically shown, this is where you're at right now. And it was ugly. I don't know if you want to get into that kind of thing, but.
Of course. So God made you aware of just how ugly you were at that point.
Yes.
And it scared you.
It terrified me. Okay. I'm going to let's just cut for a second. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you really want me to get into this, or do you just want to?
It's up to you. It's up to you. But
Yeah, I'm okay to talk
I
about.
love
I've never
this.
Yeah. If you've had them, you understand why you may not want to go out, telling everybody about this kind of thing. This was in the midst or the very beginning of a very catastrophic breakdown that I experienced. This was in the late 90s. I think I was staying with my parents at the time. I don't remember if I was living there, but I happened to just be staying there one night. But I had this vision or experience where this light that I just cannot begin to describe how bright it was and how large it was suddenly appeared in front of me. It was nighttime. It was blinding. It was the size of Mount Everest. Imagine a light that size just shining on you. It drove me to my knees. There was just no question. I was going to kneel in front of this thing. It was so overwhelming. And I had a sense of just how absolutely small I was in perhaps the great scheme of things, if you want to put it that way. And I guess thinking about that now, when I think about especially 12-step programs and how self-centered people can be, or how, wrapped up they can get into their pain, you get to see how small it actually is. And yet I had a sense at the same time that everything I did mattered. Absolutely everything I did mattered. And that light was alive. It was alive. And as hard as you could possibly attempt to close your eyes, did absolutely nothing. The light went completely through me. It went through me. I don't know why I did this, but I turned around and there was the bed I had been sleeping in. And I'll never forget this. I've never actually told anybody this. My bed was filled with serpents. My bed was completely filled with serpents. And I turned back around and just got the impression, I'm showing you where you're at right now. I've been, scared before. This was something on a level that I didn't know I didn't know it was possible to be this terrified. And then I woke up and I was in my bed and there was big, bright, white flashing lightning storm going on, big, heavy summer thunderstorm going on, or some season storm going on. I am a person, I don't even remember my dreams. Like I know I have dreams all the time, but I never remember them. Good, bad, whatever. I remember this. It's been more than 25 years. I remember it like it was yesterday. I'll never forget it. Some people may say this is an experience that psychologically I needed to have. I don't believe that. These sorts of things that, maybe 4 over the course of my life, I do not believe that they were just dreams.
And I don't believe that either. Sounds like this experience changed your life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And,
sounds like you wouldn't be alive today if you didn't have this experience.
Probably not.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I may have killed myself. I had several.
Or the drugs would have killed you.
Oh yeah, or the drugs would have killed me, or because I was just so.
Drug addicts don't live to 57.
Yeah, I was just so cracked and broken.
Mm-hmm.
I was just so cracked and broken that I didn't want to live anymore.
So God saved you.
I had crossed this invisible line, and I didn't know how to get back across again. I couldn't find a way back.
Why did God save you? Why did He save you?
Great question. I don't know if it's been a mistake not to discuss these things more openly. Maybe that is, because like some people, some people feel that, or some people believe. I know. I know that there is something or someone that is going to, maybe flash that light through us, and show you who you are, and then you better, I hope everybody's on the right side of that. I hope everybody's on the right side. You do not want to have an experience like that and find out that you've come up short, or that you're just like your bed is full of serpents. I don't know. No.
What does God?
But I mean, and it's weird because I feel that I'm blessed because I had that experience. I should be dead. If I knew exactly why I was spared, I don't have an answer for that. And it's a little bit of a frustration. Like I feel like there's something, I'm missing something. There's something I'm supposed to do, you know?
That was my next question.
I don't know what it is yet. Is it going to be? That was my next
question. What does God want with you for the rest of your life? What does he want with you?
That's a great question. That's a great question. And I'm trying to filter it through the lens of my faith. I mean, I can clearly see the difference in myself over the past 3 years. Life is just so much better since becoming involved with the church, the community there, making new friends, having the reliance on God, so that when things stress me, if there's something stressing me at work, it's going to be okay. I can, grab my keychain rosary and, maybe say a quick, Hail Holy Queen, a quick St. Michael prayer. Maybe I can pray half of a decade, get that relief. I feel that there's firm ground under my feet.
Another question I want to ask you is, why Catholicism? Why Catholicism?
A long time ago, I went to a mass. I think it was towards when I was really bottomed out. I think I just happened to walk in on a weekday mass. I went to a weekday mass. I liked the ritual. I liked the stability of it. The consistency that says, no matter what is happening, this I can depend on to be steady. This I can depend on to be there for me. That was one reason. I remembered that. I had friends, of course, that, were Catholic. I remembered that experience from going to the mass. And after a couple of masses, the father came up to me and said, wanted to talk to me, what are you doing here? So on and so forth. Are you interested in becoming a Catholic? And I'm like, I don't know. I almost felt like saying, hey, I'm just looking for a quiet corner. I like the sort of gentle restraint of the mass. But, he's the father. So he's like, well, why don't you know? And I'm like, I don't know. It's, kind of leave me be. But he's like, there's, RCIA. If you're interested in becoming a Catholic, it's right over there in the rectory next door. Next thing you know, I was in the rectory. I didn't know where any of it was going to go. I was only in there with about 3, maybe 4 other people, adults. Of course, after about a year, I started to hear about, the Latin Mass. And I'm like, well, what is this? Do I want to give that a shot? I found a local parish that offers a weekly Latin Mass. And I went there one time and I don't think, that was it. Like, this is what I want. This is what I want. I still keep in contact with the other parish. It's a different parish, but I still keep in contact with the original parish. Yeah, every Sunday, as much as humanly possible, I got to get there to that TLM.
Look at all the people that God has put in your life, from the people in the rehab rooms to your friends to this priest who just happened to see you sitting there and push you into the RCIA program. God placed all these people in your life, and all you had to do was go along.
You have to show up, and you have to go along. It's like the old college thing, Hey, you want to graduate from college? Go to class. That's half of it right there. Just go to class. Don't blow off class today. Don't blow off class today.
I say that all the time.
Just 90% go to class.
Is if you show up, you're going to be fine in my class. Show up, laugh at my jokes. That's all I ask. Yeah, I mean, I've gone from a bottom that I wouldn't want to even, come close to again to, and I just happen to have this right here, reading Latin. Mm-hmm. It's my missile. That's my Latin missile. What a long way.
Yeah. Who knew?
And who knows where this adventure will take you even further.
I'm always up for adventure. I am not risk averse.
Werewolf, is there anything else that you would like to say tonight?
God has saved me with a shock treatment that I still remember to this day, and I wouldn't want to experience it again. But I think he did it because he loved me.